In my last video, I spoke about how teachers stay with us throughout our life, how they inspire us, how they mold us, how they guide us in every decision that we make. In my life, I was fortunate to have studied in AKJM High School, Kanjirapally. Kanjirapally is a small town in Kottayam district in Kerala. He was a Jesuit priest, and I was fortunate that I joined class 7 the year he became the principal of the school. What makes him distinct was the fact that he took the student at the center of the school. So all these years, and every time we see, people talking about the school is big and bigger than it was a big school. The school had continuous history of students' high achievement all throughout. But then for him, the student was more important. For starters, in 1987, he banned caning. All kind of corporate punishments were banned in the school. So the teachers who were there, who were very senior, they just couldn't control themselves. They would find new ways of humiliating students by pinching them and things like that. For the Kuruvilla noticed it and he said, send them out, okay, and or send them to me, and that is how it was. And going to him was another experience altogether. In any school situation, if a student is made to go to the principal, it's for a big punishment. Under Father Kuruvilla, the thing was different. If two students were caught fighting, he would actually sit them down, open a pack of biscuit, get them to talk to each other, and reconcile. For him, the teacher's job was to correct the student, not punish them, to not hurt them, not cripple them for life. He was so ahead of his time that he thought of us as young adults. That in 1991, when I left the school, we had an expert coming and teaching us about reproductive health, which today in many schools people don't talk about. And that was how far ahead he was of his time. And like I said, for him, students were important. The school was notorious for corporal punishment, caning and things like that. And it always achieved 100% students passing class 10. And the funny thing was, they achieved it by failing anyone they suspected, anyone who they were not sure would pass the government exam. So they were failed in class 9. With Father Kuruvilla, things changed. He told all the teachers, it's our responsibility that any student who comes to our school has to receive the best education and the best support possible. Teachers became more and more friendly. I still remember the image of him walking on the playground, in the courtyard, with students who were weak in English or some subjects that he was good at, and he would teach them during the lunch hours, during the break, the recesses and things like that. Another very important thing, so we talk about servant leadership, and he embodied it. I learned my basic civic sense from this man. He taught us about how street food could be contaminated and things like that. So science was application. He would pick garbage. If he found anybody littering anything, he would pick it and put it in his pocket. Unfortunately, when I go to many schools today, I don't see even an iota of that sense of civic sense anywhere. He would wash the toilet himself. That was how dedicated this man was. That was how he led by example. And when he took charge, the first year one of the students failed, but from the next year onwards, nobody was failed or nobody was detained in class 9, and all the students were passed the exam successfully. That was how he put students at the center of education. And at the core of his education philosophy is what is called meta-learning skills. Meta-learning skills mean the ability to learn, or learning with a purpose. He opened our computer. We had a lab, a chemistry physics lab. Though we didn't do too much at that time, and also the syllabus didn't demand much, we were taken there. We had seen some of the experiments and things like that. which even today some of the high-end schools in big cities and other places do not have. And also he encouraged us to read, okay, on our own. He encouraged us to study by ourselves. So for us, it was reasons were more important than learning things by heart. I know even today many schools, students are dictated, teachers dictate notes. It's like they use the word dictate. They write the questions and answers. They get given questions which are likely to appear in exams. With Father Kuruvilla, that was not the case. I started reading my textbooks. Of course, we had very little to read those days, but I started reading. So much so that in from class 9 onwards, I stopped taking notes in classroom. Of course, I had maths where we had to solve things, but for me, the textbooks were more important. Analysis was more important. And honesty is another thing. I know a lot of schools, the teachers help their students in their exams and things like that. And we were scared. I never copied in exams ever, but then my classmates or people like that were scared of the principal pulling out people who cheated in exam. So that was the level of honesty this man set for a lot of us in our life. And his idea of education went beyond academics. In 1987-88, he invited state level sports person to coach our students. We had a cricket coaching camp, we had basketball coaching camps, we had football coaching. I think one of those years our team played in the Superdog Cup. That was the kind of emphasis. And similarly for cultural events, he put a lot of emphasis on music and songs and debate club and things like that, which even today many schools do not have. I still remember during lunch breaks, he used to show us movies. Those days he only had 22-inch screen, and we would sit in front of them and watch English movies, which I would have never had otherwise. Another important aspect of Father Kuruvilla was he was extremely secular. He was a Catholic priest, but our school, I was taught to respect all religions and beliefs and things like that. Nothing was shoved down our throat, to be very simple. For Diwali, I remember we had an expert in Hindu mythology and things like that coming and talking to us. For Muslim festivals, we had an expert in Quran coming and talking to us. And where do you find things like that? I find extremely religious prayers in many schools these days. These are things one should learn, and the kind of respect he taught us. Another very important aspect is how he treated parents as partners in the education system. The attendance in parent-teacher meeting was mandatory. So it was like, a student missing class is okay, but a parent missing the parent-teacher meeting was not acceptable, because he would talk to the parents about what their children needed. He would tell them what the student of, who was 13, 14, 15-year-old was going through. He would orient the parents on how to listen to their children. He told parents, make your children sleep 8 hours. That's something which nobody would tell you. And he insisted that we should not have any tutors or coaching guides and things like that. That was Father Kuruvilla. I try to promote some parts of his values in terms of meta-learning skills, in terms of servant leadership, in terms of career awareness and things like that. I had no idea what research was, but he told us that. I had no idea that there could be a career in journalism. He told us that. And a lot of my friends went on to do a lot of wonderful things. One of my biggest regret is that I wanted to meet him later in life, but then he passed away around 2010, and I was very sad. Thank you, Father Kuruvilla. You live with us.